live, we have 4 simple rules. Number 1, we don't discuss politics, ever. Number 2, this is not a religious channel, and while you might hear people say, God bless you, or I'm going to pray for you, or I wouldn't have gotten through this without my faith, that's fine. What's not fine is to say, my God is better than your God, or here's why you're not getting into heaven. It's not going to fly. Number 3, we believe wholeheartedly if you can't control your tongue, then you can't control your life. So while on board, there's not going to be any cursing in the live chat, period. And number 4, there is no room for mean people on the lifeboat. Because we discuss very sensitive things from people's past in our group setting, we got to protect those people. The only way they feel confident and comfortable discussing those things is in an environment that is free of trolls and mean people. So if you're a mean person or you're a troll, we're going to block you for life. And if your account happens to be less than 24 hours old, we're probably a little suspicious right from the word go. Why? Well, because there are people in this world who enjoy being cruel solely for the sake of being cruel. It's not going to fly here. But if you're here because you're trying to get sober and live your best life, then you might find that the lifeboat is just that, a lifeboat. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville, and we will see you on deck. Hey everybody, I need a 5x5 because my system just did all kinds of weird things. So if somebody could let me know how we're doing, I need a 5x5. Right before we went live, everything just sort of went haywire. But because of the huge delay, there we go. Thank you. Thank you, all of you. Appreciate you. All right, peeps. So first of all, tell you about Northern Nevada. So I woke up this morning. If you were on the early show, you heard this when I woke up this morning that the world was covered in snow again, which is just astounding to me because of the time of year it is. And I had to go run some errands today, and one of them brought me near the courthouse. And as I walked out of the courthouse, the sun was shining like it was the 4th of July. You know, it was just the brightest sunshine. I mean, it's still really cold out, but beautiful sunshine right in your face. And it was snowing. I kid you not. And it's just, I think maybe the second time in my life I've seen it snow while it was sunny. Now, normally you need pretty decent sized clouds in order to make that happen. But I guess the clouds had to be off in some direction and the wind must have been carrying it. But I don't mean just light flurries. There was a decent amount of snow coming down, and everybody was just sort of staring up in the air. I was going to try to go live, and then somebody rang me for my business, and that sort of short-circuited that. But what a bizarre thing to see. Honestly, really, really strange. So, as you guys probably know, because I talk about it a lot, if I read, the things that I read generally are associated with rehabilitation or something having to do with drugs. You know, it's not always strictly rehab. I just finished reading a book about a 3-letter agency that deals more drugs than anybody on the planet, and what their and sort of the history of kind of the history of the CIA through going from basically Vietnam to today, and how many times they've used drugs as a way to fund their projects and their projects they don't want to talk about all over the world. So that's really my reading material. You know, I don't do novels much these days or anything else. And sometimes I read this stuff online, and sometimes they're in actual books. My head is peeling, so everything itches. Sorry. I couldn't even shave it today. Got that Dr. Phil thing going on. So I just finished reading something that's kind of fascinating. It really is. This is one of those things that, you know, they did a study, and sometimes when they do studies, I think you have to do like drug addicts, people who've had a problem with drugs, and then 2 control groups that have never had problems with drugs. Because if you ask a question just of people who do drugs, but don't ask it of anybody else, and then your conclusion is that all people who do drugs, I'll give you the example. one of these gentlemen's theory, and he's got initials after his name, and he's a hell of a lot smarter than I am, but one of this guy's theories is very similar to ours, that addicts feel uncomfortable in their own skin. Right? We all agree with that. And we do everything we can to make that go away by using drugs, alcohol, combination of the both, so that we can start to feel comfortable being in our own skin. That said, he asked and did some kind of a survey with people that he had been working with, because he also has an LCDC. He's a chemical dependency counselor. And the people that he worked with, he asked a simple question of, do you feel special? Like from the time you were young, did you always feel like you were a little bit different, a little bit special, and that you were meant for something bigger than what you're doing? I'm of the firm belief that almost everybody on the planet would answer yes to that question. Maybe I'm crazy, but to me, that seems like one of those questions that I think everyone deep down thinks that they're special. Maybe I'm way off base, but I believe that. And since there's no control group, I don't think you can extrapolate from that kind of questioning that everybody, that this is a reason that people who do drugs do drugs. That was basically his conclusion, was because we don't get the special that we want. We don't become president, or we don't become an actor, or we don't become rich or famous or whatever. We become uncomfortable, and for that reason, the habit really takes roots, and we go from being a drug user to being a drug addict. I don't buy any of this, but it brought up a pretty fascinating subject, which got me thinking and looking back through history and reading some stuff. The country that we live in started a phenomenon that has gone across the entire planet. Back in the day, there were the people who worked. There were the upper class people who worked, kind of the rich people, doctors, lawyers, whatever, blacksmiths, silversmiths, the people that made a lot of money for their time. And the people that were famous were royalty, kings, queens, princes, princesses, etc. And they lived that life. Then when we came to the United States, or America at the time, right? No royalty here. So really, there was something lacking in the American society. There was no elite group that everybody kind of wanted to be. And once Hollywood started, the sort of the cult of personality really started to kick in. And I think that this has done an awful lot to change not just culture, because obviously it changes culture, but I think it went a long way to changing a lot about people that do drugs. Truthfully, drugs and alcohol. Because I do think that there's something in there. I think, although the way that he did his study seemed a little stupid to me, I think there's something to what he says. I'm sure that there are people out there that, really deep down think that they should be Brad Pitt. Or deep down they think that, I should have been a governor or a senator. The whole fame thing is really kind of fascinating. And we exported it to the rest of the world. Truthfully, before any place else were making films, and really, there was Hollywood before there was really anything else. So those actors and actresses became famous all over the world, which was a bizarre concept if you think about it. Then we instantly made them perfect. In our heads, we made them perfect. All of a sudden, they were the smartest, and they were the prettiest, and they were perfect. When my brother Johnny and I were younger, Johnny was a gifted tennis player. I was not, but I liked going down and hanging out where everybody played tennis. The club down there was fun, and we were growing up in what would probably be called now, if you look back on it, kind of like the almost like the golden era of professional tennis, because there were so many personalities that were really different than today. Today everybody seems very respectful. There's nobody that's crazy. And there used to be a lot of crazy people back in the day. McEnroe, Nastasi, people that used to throw rackets, break rackets, just go insane. And it was part of their their shtick. It was part of their personality, part of how they did things. But there was a famous tennis player, and I'm not going to say his name, but I will say this. The man won a lot of Wimbledons, I think more than anybody at that time. And we really this was a dude that we wanted to be. He really was just cooler than everybody else and had long hair and, wore really expensive clothing that, of course, they paid him to wear. And it was one of those things that, if your tennis racket didn't have a little extra leather on it, like his did, so that you could work a two-handed backhand, then you really weren't quite cool. And if the shoes you were wearing, weren't what he had, then, you weren't quite cool. And this is a phenomenon that takes place everywhere. We have people that throw a round ball through a hoop that make hundreds of millions of dollars. People who hit baseballs that make more money than every brain surgeon in America combined, or every school teacher on the planet combined. Makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? But once again, he wasn't just a tennis player. He was a genius. He was handsome. Everything about this dude was perfect. His temperament, whatever he did, we found amazing. And this was at a time where I wasn't even putting chemicals into my body yet. It was before those days. But years later, I was in Houston, Texas, and I was married with kids, and we knew a girl that we became friends with. This girl had posed in a very famous men's magazine, and I don't mean like Men's Journal magazine. I mean the Hugh Hefner magazine. And we hung out with this person for a while and actually got to be fairly decent friends with her. And she had sort of come from that world. She was an exotic dancer at one point, and who sort of got discovered and then got her picture in a magazine. Why am I telling you this? Her best friend ended up with this tennis player for a very long time, a very, very long time. And I was telling a story about, my brother and I and my dad and watching an event. And she goes, "Oh, I know him." And I said, "You know him?" She said, "Yeah." I'm like, "You mean you know who he is?" She's like, "No. Look, I've had dinner with him. I've hung out with him." I'm like, "You got to be kidding." I'm like, "Man, that's crazy, right?" This was somebody that my youth he was a chunk of my youth, for real. Like, he was a chunk of it. That was one of the first people that I thought, wow, this dude's cool. So months go by and I get a phone call from this girl, and she said, Cara, we'll go with that one. I won't tell you the rest of it, but her friend's name was Cara. And she said, Cara will be in town this weekend, and she's coming with this pro. And I said, wow. She goes, "You want to meet him?" And I remember being blown away at the concept of just, first of all, how crazy things are and how small the world is. But I was going to get an opportunity to meet somebody that really meant a lot to my entire youth. And I jumped at it, man. I said, "You bet I want to meet him. Absolutely, I want to meet him." So the four of us went to dinner. And he came walking in, and, when we looked at him, he wasn't wearing a shirt and a tie or he was dressed as an athlete. He came in this time and he was wearing a shirt and a tie, and it was unbuttoned at the top, had a very casual look. Sat down, ordered a drink. We all sat down. Then he excused himself to go to the bathroom. And I thanked Kara and my other friend. I said, "That's crazy. Really is. It's crazy." He came back to the table and I said, "Boy, you know what? I think I watched every single time you played Wimbledon. I probably caught all the French Opens. I'm not trying to creep you out, but I was a big fan as a kid." He's like, "Thanks." And he talked for about 2 minutes about the things that this had done for him in his life. Then he got up and went to the bathroom. He came back to the table. We all ordered appetizers, and he pulled out some clothing from a clothing line that he had and gave it to me. Boxer shorts. Had his initials that went around the strap around the outside. They're actually pretty cool. Looked expensive. And then he got up and went to the bathroom. And by this time, Like, I know exactly what's going on. You don't go to the bathroom 3 times in 25 minutes unless you're sticking something up your nose. That's been my experience in life. And each time he came back, it was fairly obvious that he had just done some blow. And about 2 more times he went. No exaggeration, 5 or 6 times now. And they're bringing the food and he's just sort of sticking it with a fork because it's really tough eating on blow. You really gotta really want to eat to put anything in your stomach when you've done cocaine. So he got up after I don't know how many, and his girlfriend started to apologize. I am so sorry. Let me apologize for him. And I said, no, it's cool. It wasn't cool. It had knocked all of the air out of me in a way that I didn't think was possible. Here's the insane thing. I did coke. I had probably done it within a couple of days of seeing him. But in my head, this guy couldn't possibly be like me. This guy was special. The older I get, the more you get around the world. We did a charity at one time, and I talk about this in one of my videos, but there were a truckload, maybe a busload of famous people who endorsed this charity to help raise money for kids. And I got to meet, I don't know how many people. And all of them are just people. They're all just people with flaws, with bad tempers, stupid habits, things that they do that make them really, really human. So this question that the guy asked, do you feel special? Do you feel like you were destined for something more, something bigger? I think that people with that thought quite often either drink themselves or drug themselves to make that thought go away. Or something happens and they win the lottery. And if you think about the number of people who get to play baseball in the pros, or the number of people who get to play football in the pros, compared to the number of people that started out in Pop Warner or Little League, it's literally winning the lottery, right? What had to happen for you to be standing on the mound in Yankee Stadium is just absolutely incredible. So what happens if that does happen? What happens if you become the person that thought they were destined for something more and you get it? Life's perfect, right? If life was perfect, that tennis player wouldn't have been going to the bathroom to snort coke. And I think sometimes you really have to sort of tie happiness, not to getting everything you want, but to wanting everything you get and being comfortable where you're at. There's a cliche that says, if you don't have your health, you don't have anything. That expression should be, if you have your health, you got a lot to be thankful for. That's really what that expression should be. Because if you go the other way, it means that nobody ever appreciates their health until they find out they're friggin' sick. And that's pretty nasty. Not the loudmouth. Not the loudmouth. Seven, son, you're funny. Not the loudmouth. Definitely the pretty boy. I got up from that dinner table and I walked out, and the 3 pair of boxers that he had given me were autographed. And I threw them in the trash can just outside the restaurant. And I probably got 70 apologies from this poor guy's girlfriend. And I had no right to be angry at this guy. First of all, I was a drug addict. The hell right have I got to be angry at somebody for doing drugs? But it's so easy to believe that if that circumstance, if you're the one that wins that lottery, right, that those people are somehow really, really special, and we're not. And that's just horse crap. It really is. It's horse crap. And it's the kind of horse crap that makes people do really incredible things. Have you ever gotten an email that says, I am a prince of whatever, and I'm stuck, and, I'm trying to move a large sum of money into the US. I don't need any money from you. I'm trying to move money into the US. I just want to put money in your account. Say 150 million. You take 5 for allowing it to happen, and then you just have to wire it to a different account. Now you think to yourself, there's nobody on the planet that fell for that. There's nobody on the planet that fell for that. If I told you that hundreds of millions of dollars have been liquidated from people's accounts on that scam alone, would you believe me? Because I assure you, it's been hundreds of millions of dollars. You can Google a 60-minute special on it. And very often they're people who are older. And, they look at it as that last chance. This is going to be that chance to be special. I'm going to win the lottery that everybody else won. And you know how we always say, when you get sober, life isn't going to be perfect. When you get sober, you're still going to be the same idiot. You're just going to have less dents in your car. You're going to have the same problems, same bills, same everything. But we think, because we build it up in our heads, that, man, if we can get sober, if I can just get off dope, everything will be perfect. I have come to believe that nothing is ever going to get perfect. And that's not a bad thing. It's really not. The way that you make life perfect is you look for perfection in things that aren't perfect. Does that make sense? If you think that buying a Powerball ticket and winning $450 million would be perfect, and that's what you're looking for, well, then your odds are about 1 3/4 billion. Somebody's going to win. It's just not going to be you, ever. It's just the way it is. But if perfect is something that you look for somewhere else, like spending time with your kids, being with family that you don't see very often, everybody comes together, some event happens, and it's not a funeral, because it's kind of a bummer when the only time that family seems to see each other is when you're putting somebody in the ground. But one of those situations where you're like, these are my people. I'm with my people. I have come to believe that for me, you know what's perfect? What's perfect is stopping somebody from slamming into a brick wall at 100 miles an hour, right? That's perfect. That's really where I find joy like I can't explain. For real, it's my drug of choice. It really is my drug of choice. And not because I want to hear somebody thank me for it, because I promise you that makes me uncomfortable. I like it when they say the boat did it. I love that. Because more than likely, that's exactly what happened. But I understand the ripple concept, I think, a little better than most. For real, because I've watched it go in both directions. I've watched what one evil SOB can do to the world. I worked with one every day for a very long time. And I have definitely watched it go in both directions. I was 23 when I won the Powerball, but I lost it in the rain crime. Pat, you won the Powerball at 23, or is that the lyrics to something? Or I would have OD'd. Yeah, there you go. Well, here's the thing. So Jack, the guy that I used to bring on here, was a good friend of mine. Jack goes to California, gets a job as a handyman, and he gets hired by a guy. And he said to me, you got to see this dude. Guy's got a baseball cap on, sideways, brim coming off the side of his head. His pants are sagged in the back. He said, you just would not believe what this dude looks like. But he's got a wad of money this big in his pocket at all times. And Jack said, and they asked me to do some stuff in the bedroom. And when I went in there, he said they had tin foil pulled into that V shape with black stains all over it. I said, tar? He goes, oh yeah. He said, they're smoking so much smack, it's unbelievable. He and his wife. And he said, in the cars that he had in the driveway are the cars that people who have too much money buy. Terrible, terrible investment cars. Fun as hell, but you got to have ridiculous money. You know, you can buy a Ferrari. Ferraris are a lot of fun to drive. But after 8,000 miles, it's going to cost you 15,000 miles to get a tune-up. I mean, $15,000 to get a tune-up. That's pretty tough. These are not cars that you shop in. These aren't cars that, you go to the grocery store and hang out in. You take them out every once in a while. For what reason? I guess if you go to a track, it's because you really dig the adrenaline, right? And that driving experience is awesome. But if you're just cruising around town going 55 miles an hour, you're driving that thing so that people will think that you're special. And I am sure a lot of people do, right? You ever rent a limousine? You rent a limousine and every single car that goes by stares at it because they figure, got to be somebody important in that limo. There has got to be somebody important in that limo. And usually there isn't, How do we start feeling special without hitting the Powerball? Because the guy that Jack was working for, by the way, he didn't hit the Powerball. Let me tell you how much on the uptake, right? How swift this dude was. He bought a scratch off lottery ticket. And he scratches the thing off. He's with a friend, by the way. And it's $1 million winner. And the friend instantly says that the two of them bought it together. Now, I don't know. Maybe they did. You know what I mean? It wasn't a dollar ticket. I think it was a $20 scratch off. Maybe they threw 10 in each. I don't know. But this dude and he have a court battle and he wins. It's his ticket. So he takes the ticket down to cash the thing in and have a cashier's check drawn or whatever. And when he brings it down there, the woman says to him, "You didn't scratch off the multiplier." This guy has this ticket for almost a year and doesn't read the writing on this ticket. That under that little mark will tell you how much it multiplies your winnings. Sharp, right? Sharp as attack. Times 15. So that $1 million ticket that he thought he had for a year and a half, all of a sudden was $15 million. And he would call Jack and Jack would go out there and, do whatever, put in a ceiling fan. And the guy'd hand him $200 or $300. Not that it should cost $200 or $300 to put in a ceiling fan, but he's got all the money in the world. Never going to run out of it. He got everything he wanted. But when he didn't work. Bought a bigger house. Bought different cars. Bought jewelry. Bought everything. And each thing he bought had the potential to make him feel special. He doesn't live in that house anymore. He doesn't. Now, I can't tell you he's broke. I'd be willing to bet you almost anything that he's broke, but I can't tell you that. What I can tell you is they had to sell that house and they had to move to a different state because the nut, right? How much money you have to come up with each month, every single month, no matter what. Usually, so your mortgage, your insurance, any car payments, that kind of stuff that you have to pay every single month. His was up to $11,000. May not sound like a lot when you got 15 million, but 15 million goes real quick, especially when Uncle Sam takes about 7 of it. If you wait to find happiness and being special in the next thing, 2 things are going to happen. Number 1, you're going to go miserable. Guaranteed. You are going to be a miserable human being. You're never going to be happy because you got to be happy in your own skin. The way you are, you got to learn how to do that. And the other danger is that anybody that's selling snake oil has got your number. The guy that's got a bridge, right, that he's going to sell you for scrap metal. You ever heard the expression, he could sell that guy the Brooklyn Bridge? Do you know why that is an expression? Google it. Google it. The number of con men who literally got somebody to buy the Brooklyn Bridge for scrap metal. They're getting ready to tear it down, fill out all the paperwork, everything. Why would you do that? Well, because you thought this one was going to be the one that made you special. It's the con. right? They call people confidence men. They don't call them confidence men because you put your confidence in them and you lose all your money. They go the other route. They're going to make you feel so greedy that you're going to take advantage of them, right? The other way around. The people that really get scammed, they get scammed because the guy shows them a $50,000 wristwatch and says, look, I just lost all my money in a casino. My wife's going to kill me. If I could get $3,000, right? Just enough so I can get out of here because I don't even have enough for plane fare, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to send you the money for that watch. I just need you to hold on to it. And the guy that's doing it's thinking, I'm not going to give this guy his watch back. I'm not even going to give him a real address. I'm going to take advantage of him. And you just bought a watch that's worth maybe $700, for thousands of dollars. And these go on every single day. But the people that get hit are people that think happiness is going to come in that next miracle. Happiness is going to come from that next miracle. I happen to believe wholeheartedly that for a lot of people on this boat, happiness is indeed going to come from a miracle. But it's going to come from the miracle of being sober. When you get sober, there's a lot of parts of your life you're actually going to have a chance to take a look at. If you got to come up with $700 a day to just feed your habit, just to keep from throwing up, right? Then there's a really good chance that you don't have enough time for God, that you don't have enough time for family, and a lot of other things. It's frightening. But if you stop having to come up with $700 a day, all of a sudden, you got a little time to kill. And the question becomes, what are you going to do at that time? Because very often, right, it's going to diverge in two directions. And very often, it's the exact same thing as when you were using. You just don't use. You're looking for the next miracle. You're not quite happy in your own skin. You're getting by. You're not doing dope. But you're not quite happy yet. If you're not quite happy yet, you got to figure out how to be happy. You really do. Journal, people. Get out that damn journal and start writing in it, because that is one of those ways that is absolutely going to give you an opportunity to figure out what is wrong with you. If you hate journaling, if you're one of those people that says, I cannot journal, right? I can't do it. I'm sorry. I'll do everything else you say, but I'm not going to journal. Then you're not going to get where you need to get to. I promise you. Plain and simple. You're not going to get to where you need to. There is not anybody on the planet right now kicking the hell out of it that doesn't journal. I don't care what you do. Athletes, investments, whatever. You journal. It's a secret weapon of the rich and has been for a very long time. It gives you an opportunity to organize thoughts in a way that the average person doesn't. It gives you an opportunity to empty your skull before you go to sleep so that your sleep is far more restful. And if that doesn't make sense to you, then you haven't done a whole lot of journaling. If you got stuff on your mind and you go to sleep with stuff on your mind, then that really deep, nice, restful sleep, now you're dreaming. Your subconscious is trying to put together whatever the hell you went to sleep, not having resolved, or at least got out. So you sit down and you write. Now when you go to sleep, all of that stuff that might just be tearing you up in the night, it's over on the bedstand, right? Right on the nightstand. It's inside that little book. Those covers will keep them safe. Instead of slapping you around in your sleep, maybe you'll have beautiful dreams. Or maybe you'll have dreams that are just so mundane that you're not even going to remember them and it doesn't matter. But it's going to make for a much better sleep. I promise. Then when you get up in the morning, pick that damn thing up again. For real. You're going to start the day with whatever was going on in your mind. Now, in a perfect world, there was nothing going on. Great. Then when you go to write down that first word and there's nothing that wants to come out, schedule your day. Make a list of how many people you really care about, whatever. And if you're that person that says, I just can't, this thing here is one of the greatest things you will ever see. I promise you. Wreck this journal. This, people, could be a joke. This was a gift to me from Blue Dazzlebug. This book made me laugh so hard until I realized that if you're not someone who journals, I promise you this book will have you journaling by the end of it. It'll start out funny because it's a really funny thing every single day, but it gets people into a habit. And there's some writing involved. It is a really funny book. And and it may be the ticket or the starting ticket that'll make you happy. Because that ticket that's going to make you happy doesn't come from the California State Lottery. It doesn't. I know almost everybody has seen the specials of the people that won the Powerball and how many of them are happy. It's astounding how many of them go broke. You think to yourself, you hand somebody $200 million, there's no way they could go broke. Oh, they do. They do. In fact, the vast majority of them do. How can that happen? I'll tell you how it happens. Because somebody gives them $200 million. Everything they ever wanted. But they're still uncomfortable. Didn't really get the job done. Just like, as soon as I'm sober, life's going to be perfect. If I ever hit this lottery, life is going to be perfect. And then you get the money and you don't really feel all that different. So maybe I'll get a house in the Hollywood Hills. You know what I mean? And a Ferrari. So that I got the nicest car you ever seen. I live in the nicest house you've ever seen. And then I'll be happy. But you get there and you're not quite happy. You know what it probably is? It's probably the hardwood floors. Yank those babies out and put in some Italian marble. For real. And get those posters off the wall. Everybody in college, buy some art. Because the art's going to make you happy. That's going to be the thing. That will be the one that all of a sudden you'll be comfortable in your own skin. Yeah. A little bit of art. You can't buy happiness. You can't. You can certainly buy a lot of things that are fun to play with. And I'm all about it. I love playing with toys. Expensive toys are even better. They're the most fun to play with. But imagine this as a concept. What if? Run with me on this. What if you started journaling? You started taking a couple hours a day to figure out who you are. Started going to regular meetings, whether it's here or any place else. But you start figuring out the owner's manual for your brain. And you get to a point where when you look in the mirror, you really dig the person who's looking back at you. You get to the point where you are literally just comfortable and happy in your own skin. And then you hit the lottery. And I don't mean the Powerball, although that would work too, whatever. Every once in a while, when you see the shows about the people that won the money, there are people who were perfectly content in their own skin who win the lottery. And the things they do with the money are astounding. You know, they go out to see the guy at the house and he's still living in the same house with his wife. You guys didn't upgrade? No, we didn't. You didn't think of getting a different house? No, we like it here. It's pretty cool. Did you get a new car? I did. Yeah, that I did. I bought a brand new F-150 pickup because I've wanted that for a while. And the people just look at him bewildered. You got all of that money. What'd you do with it? It's just sitting in the bank? Nope. And then they took him for a ride around town. And he said, you know, I went to this high school. My dad went to this high school. So I bought him a gymnasium and a football field. Because the dude's content. He's happy in his own skin. And then he started putting trust together for everybody in his family. You know what's funny? When you win the lottery, every relative you have calls, asks for help. They say that's the first thing that happens. Every relative. Dude, you just won $200 million. Give me $1 million. I'll bet you that this guy's family didn't call him. Because I bet you that they knew if they just sat there, he was going to call them. If you're completely content, then you don't have a bad relationship. Worked on all of them. So if there's a person out there, you probably care about him enough to call him. Hey man, I just hit the lottery. Can I pay off your house and your cars and maybe put 500 grand in your bank account? just so that you and your wife never have to worry about a bill, so that money is never something that you guys have to answer to. Maybe then that person can concentrate on what's really important, the stuff that makes you comfortable in your own skin. I come here and I come in front of this camera and I tell people every rotten sin that I did, open as hell about it. I tell everybody what a rotten human being I was. And I say it again and again and again. And it doesn't make me uncomfortable. Not in the slightest. When people go that, doesn't that make you? No, it doesn't. It doesn't make me uncomfortable at all. It really doesn't. Well, you don't have to do that. No, you don't have to. You don't. But one of the times that you do, someone says, hey, can I talk to you? If I came on here and every show was just a Tony Robbins, rah, rah. No, I work in on almost every show. I got a pretty ugly past. Because if somebody just got here and is listening to the boat for the first time, I don't want them to think I'm some slick dude sitting in front of a camera. I want them to realize I found my way out of a forest and I was deep in that baby. I was deep in that forest. I don't know how many people I've met that were deeper in that forest. Like I was far gone. Health, everything. I traded everything for the drug. And I've said this a few times on the boat, but I think it might be the most profound thing I have ever said in front of a camera. Drugs gave me nothing. They took from me. Sobriety gave me what I was looking for with drugs. Everything I wanted drugs to do for me, sobriety has done. For real. And then it leaves you an opening. And you find things that, man, go back 10 years. Go back 10 years and tell me I'm going to work with people I've never met on the internet to see if I can't help them get sober. Tell me that one 10 years ago. You couldn't have sold me that. I promise you, there isn't any way in hell that you could have convinced me that I'd be helping anybody I knew, much less somebody I've never met, or praying that a couple of people that really need it will show up tomorrow. People that haven't found the boat yet. You know what? Maybe if I get the boat on a couple of more platforms, maybe we'll help more people. Tell you what, I'll be just as happy if I don't. I don't hang my happiness on helping anybody. I don't. I'm happy one way or the other. It's awesome when you see somebody get helped. And if the story's great, they got a family, they got kids. Oh, it's even better. It's even better because you can win the lottery and then still have something amazing happen to you. Or you can have a miracle happen to you and you can still win the lottery. And helping people get sober, people, that really has become winning the lottery for me. It's a full-time job on top of a full-time job. But the rewards, they're heavy duty. They really are. And I'll be honest, sometimes we work with people and they get so well, they walk away. That's awesome. We miss them. I love the ones that come back. Like Cujo. Pops in every once in a while and just goes, hey, man, I'm doing good. Didn't want anybody to think I slipped or anything. Just doing my thing. But I want to stop by the boat and see how you guys are doing. There's about 5 or 6 people that do that. And there are people that don't stop in here but send me emails that, hey, I just wanted you to know I'm still doing good. We don't need to see them in here. I don't need the count on how many people are in the live feed to go up by 4. I'm glad that those 4 people feel liberated enough that they might not need this. They're going to stop back and let us know they're doing all right. And I would like to believe that if they start slipping, they're going to slip back onto the deck hang out for a little while and see what happens. Because it works. And not because of me. It doesn't. I mean, I get really nice emails. But the truth of the matter is, if I did this show and there was nobody in the live chat, nobody. So a person shows up here, or worse, a person shows up here and nobody says, hey, welcome to the lifeboat. Person shows up here and you guys are having conversations and the guy puts up, hey, first time here, nothing. Crickets. Yeah, I just wanted to check the channel out. Nothing. Crickets. Think that guy's going to stick around? Hell no. You don't find the lifeboat because you're out having a good time. You find the lifeboat because you were looking for a way to get sober. Right? Life's tough. You remember what that felt like? It sucked. You were terrified. And part of you knew it was never going to happen. There was that little nagging part in the back of your brain, that the one that manufactures automatic negative thoughts, right? The manufacturing center for all ants. Just going, what are you doing, man? You're wasting your time. Look at cat videos. But nobody's going to help you. You can't be helped. You're wasting your time. You're wasting your time. Wasting your time. I'll stop talking if you give me a bag. Doesn't happen. People show up here and everybody greets them. Everybody. And I get emails all the time that say, you know what, man, from day one, I came onto your channel and it just felt different. People, I have days that I'm not very good at this, Can't do, 700 of these a year and not do some really bad ones, tons of them. But I don't think that ever runs anybody off. I may be really good background noise some days. And some days I might not be very good background noise at all. But the more that you guys are saying hello to new people, that's a lot better than saying, hey, I have a question, Tommy. You know what? Be waiting for the next person to step onto the deck. And I'm never going to get offended if you're talking to that person instead of paying attention to what's going on in the front of the classroom. For real. If this could be a hologram, right? I'd love to be in there just chatting with you guys. I'd love to be able to just be in there doing my thing. If I had enough time, I would film these, put them up as a premiere, but then that means I'm doing 4 hours a day instead of 2 hours a day. I don't know that I could pull that off. Hey, Cemetery, I don't care what you look like, man. I don't care what you look like. I could show you some pictures of people, the most beautiful people that I have ever seen. We lost one last year. Absolutely. Hands down, one of the most beautiful people I've ever met. The world may have thought different because the world believes that 5'7" and 110 is beautiful. 5'7" and 110 is just a thin person who's tall for being a girl. This person weighed probably 3 times that. But you want to talk about beautiful? This person was beautiful. Wouldn't make a crap bit of difference. Cemetery. It wouldn't care what. I don't think anybody else would care either. I think that's why this is the boat. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I spend a lot of time wrong. I know it wouldn't make a crap bit of difference to me. Would not make any difference at all to me. Not a lick. That's almost like the only thing I need is some Italian marble. The only thing I need is a little more window dressing. Some more gold. Some more gold. And there's a lot of people who go that route. I know a girl who's probably spent $250,000 of her money, maybe more by now, trying to not look 30. Yeah. Trying to not look 30 because the 20s were perfect. You know what it's going to be like when she hits 40? Actually, by now she would probably be 40. Oh, I bet she's miserable. I bet she's miserable. Being content. Right where you are. Got to be one of the most beautiful things in the entire world. And it's possible. I'm here to tell you it's possible. You can go from wherever you are at right now to content. And if you don't believe that, I started at a much uglier where you're at right now. When I said I'm not going to do this crap anymore, I really am ready to quit and I'm not going to do anything. I was in the United States Penitentiary, and not a particularly kind one. Right? And my only hope was a guy of the opposite race, and you're really not allowed to hang out with people from the opposite race when you're in a federal penitentiary. Well, I knew I was going to get my ass kicked for just listening to this guy. Well worth it. Well worth it. All right, peeps. That brings me pretty close to the top of the hour, and I'm not going to lie to you. I'm hungry. All right, people. You know what? Try to see if you can be comfortable being exactly who you are. Try to be comfortable without any help from any external stimuli. Whether that's money, whether that's people, cars, jewelry, real estate, cash, money stacked up on a table. I used to pick on people who said money can't buy you happiness. In fact, my favorite quote used to be, not that it can't, but it could buy you a 140-foot motor yacht and you could sail right up next to happiness and give her the finger. That was the sales pitch, right? That's what you said seriously when you were doing business opportunity. And someone would say, yeah, but money doesn't make you happy. That was the standard answer. No, it doesn't. But it can buy you a 140-foot motor yacht and you can sail right up next to happiness and give her the finger. I honestly don't have any idea how I was that person for as long as I was. I really don't. I guess I was meant to be that person so that where I'm at now, I'm content as hell. I'm content as hell. I really am. I'm very, very comfortable in my own skin. And I got the cul-de-sac coming in really bad. Look like Dr. Phil. Really good sized nose. And when you see me up close, I got some pretty decent scarring on my face. It is what it is. I am very comfortable in this skin, And all of those marks, I'm telling you, they're reminders, right? They're reminders. If you can get rid of the track marks on the inside, no one will ever care about the track marks on the outside. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville. 11 hours from now, I'm going to be back here doing this again on the deck of the lifeboat. And this is a cat in a basket. Say goodnight, squirrel. All right. Boy, she's getting fat. All right. Let's see if this works this time. Good night, everybody. I'll see you on deck.